You know, The Godfather has a very unique brother aesthetic. Tom Hagen is an adopted son of Vito Corleone, played by the great Robert Duvall. James Caan is the hothead Sonny. Michael Corleone, played by Al Pacino, plays the intelligent brother. And John Cazale, God bless him, passed away way too early from cancer, stars as the weak brother Fredo. But in Godfather 2, where Fredo betrays Michael, and by the way, there will be spoilers in this podcast, so stop listening if you don't like spoilers. He basically becomes so infuriated being passed over, he literally tries to knock off his brother to get the power that he thinks he deserves. Now, Fredo Corleone is a fictional character in Mario Puzo's original 69 novel, The Godfather. Fredo was portrayed by John Cazale in FFC's 1972 film adaptation and the sequel to Godfather Part 2, which came out in 1974. Now, he's the second son of Mafia Don Vito Corleone, played on the screen by Marlon Brando, and in the Part 2 award-winning performance of Robert De Niro. Fredo is the younger brother of Sonny, and the elder brother to Michael and sister Connie, Talia Shire. Corleone family concierge Tom Hagen, played by Robert Duvall, is his informally adopted brother. Now, the character of Fredo is more indecisive and lacks the determination of his brothers, and as a result has little power or status within the Corleone crime family. Now, in the novel, Puzo says that Fredo's primary weakness is his womanizing, a habit that develops after moving to Las Vegas and which earns his father disfavor. In the films, Fredo's feelings of personal inadequacy and his inability to act effectively on his own behalf are character flaws leading to his eventual demise. Now, in a pivotal scene in the novel and film, Fredo is with his father when assassins working for drug kingpin Virgil Soloso, played by Al Lettieri, gunned down the Don in the street. Fredo is terrified, drops his gun, failing to return fire. He sits on the curb next to his severely wounded father, weeping like a baby. In the novel, Fredo was sickened after witnessing his father being shot and goes into shock. To aid Fredo's recovery and protect him from possible reprisals, Sonny sends his younger brother to Las Vegas under protection of Don Anthony Molinari of San Francisco. While in Vegas, Fredo learns the casino trade and becomes acquainted with former hitman Mo Green, played by Alex Rocca, who runs a major Vegas hotel that the Corleone family bankrolled. Now, Fredo regularly seduces the casino's cocktail waitresses to the point that the customers cannot get their drink orders on time. This angers Green, who ends up slapping Fredo in public as on at least one occasion. Now, how it worked here, Michael visits Las Vegas and it comes up that, Fredo's been a problem and banging cocktail waitresses two at a time. And he said, "You hit my brother around?" He said, "You know who I am? I'm Mo Green. I was baking my bones when you were sleeping with cheerleaders." Now, after Sonny is assassinated, Vito chooses Michael as successor to the Corleone family. This creates a lasting rift between the two surviving brothers. When Michael learns that Green slapped Fredo, he's angered and confronts Green, but is also dismayed when Fredo comes to Green's defense. When Fredo berates Michael for being hostile to Green, Michael in turn threatens Fredo for taking sides against the family during a meeting with Green, warning him never to do it again. Now, this partial throwaway scene sets up the denouement in Part 2. Now, by the beginning of Godfather Part 2, Fredo has become Michael's underboss, though he's only nominal power. During a large family gathering celebrating Michael's son's, I think it was confirmation or baptism. I think it was confirmation. Fredo is unable to control his intoxicated wife, Deanna. When she dances and flirts with another man, he furiously drags her off the dance floor and threatens to hit her, though Deanna drunkenly mocks him as only until one of Michael's bodyguards hauls him away with Fredo's permission. Now, when Tom Hagen is ordered to bring Senator Pat Geary under the Corleone family's control to gain his assistance in obtaining gambling license, Geary eventually tries to extort money from Michael and is eventually implicated in the prostitute's murder, which the film implies was a setup by Michael to bring the senator to heel. Hagen offers the Corleone family help in covering up the prostitute's murder in exchange for Geary's friendship. Hagen tells Geary that Fredo operates the brothel and it will be as if she never existed. Geary agrees to their terms. Now, Fredo later betrays Michael after being approached by Johnny Ola, an associate, pretty well hitman, a rival crime boss, Iman Roth, who was a childhood friend of the Don. Ola and Roth tell Fredo that Michael has been particularly difficult in business negotiations between Roth's organization and the Corleone family. Fredo secretly agrees to aid them in exchange for compensation, but shortly afterward, an attempt is made on Michael's life at the compound. The film never reveals what specific assistance Fredo provides Ola and Roth against Michael, how much of they knew of their intentions, or what he was offered in return. But there is a cryptic phone call that you have to see the scene to know what I'm talking about. Now, while in the van negotiating with Roth, Michael discovers that Fredo was a family traitor behind the assassination attempt on him. After telling Michael that he had never met Ola, Fredo later carelessly tells Geary they had been in a nightclub with Ola, and they were watching a live sex show with a very well-endowed participant. And basically, Michael reacts with the hand over the face scene that is probably one of the most memorable of the two movies. Now, Michael, like I said, overhears the conversation and realizes that Fredo betrayed him to Roth. He confronts him at a New Year's Eve party in Cuba and says, "I knew it was you, Fredo. You broke my heart." And he delivered the kiss of death. Amid the chaos, American-backed dictator Batista fleeing Fidel Castro's rebel army, Michael pleads with Fredo in the street to leave the country with him. "You're still my brother." Frightened and remembered that Carlo Rizzi was promised the same but executed anyway by Clemenza in the back of the car, the last scenes of Godfather 1, Fredo runs away in the crowd. Michael's men eventually locate Fredo and convince him to return home. Now, when Michael is subpoenaed by a Senate subcommittee investigating organized crime, Michael's former underboss, Frank Penangeli, played by Oscar nominee Michael Vigazzo, is scheduled to testify against Michael at the hearing. A few days before the hearing, Michael asks Fredo what he knows regarding Roth's plans. Fredo claims that he did not know that he would make an attempt on Michael's life, and that if he helped Roth, there was something in it for me on my own, which basically saying, "You never took me seriously as your brother, and I had to do something for myself." He angrily tells Michael that he resents being passed over to exceed their father. He believes that, as the older brother, he should have taken over the family business after Vito's death. When pressed by Michael, Fredo reveals that the Senate commissioned lawyers on Roth's payroll. Michael disowns Fredo and privately instructs his personal assassin Al Neri that nothing's to happen to Fredo while their mother is alive, the implication being that Fredo will be killed after her death. Now, Talia Shire's character, the sister, appeals to Pacino, and there's a scene where basically he's hugging Fredo at the funeral, and he looks up at Neri, basically said, "Keep her going." Now, in this scene, Michael seemingly forgives Fredo. However, this is shown to be a ruse, as Michael exchanges a glance with Neri, signaling that Fredo is to be killed. Soon after, while Fredo and Neri are fishing in Lake Tahoe, Neri executes Fredo, while Michael watches from his house. And Michael's son was supposed to accompany him on the boat, and it scenes where he's saying the Lord's Prayer before he's shot. Now, Fredo makes a final appearance in the movie's penultimate scene, a flashback to Vito's birthday party in December 41. It emerges that Fredo was the only family member to support Michael's decision to drop out of college and join the Marines after an attack on Pearl Harbor. Now, in any family unit, be they mafia or be they sports, be it entertainment, there's always one person's going to be left out. Fredo's character was essential to the driving plot of the second half of Part 1 and pretty well the three-quarter mark of Part 2. Because if Michael would kill his own family, he could have killed Tom Hagen. He had an opportunity because there was some talk of Hagen had betrayed him. That would make sense. They're not blood brothers. But to knock off Fredo, if the Don was still living, Michael wouldn't have done that. And with her mother gone, that was the last link to her father. But like we like to say in the mafia business in Canada, it's just business. It's a rough business, but that's the way it goes. But the whole Part 2, it could run another hour and a half and still be very deep. I think it was rushed the way Part 2 was filmed. But John Cazale said in published reports There were some scenes left on the cutting room floor that would have added to it, but as it states right now, part one pretty well the scene with Mo Green and Michael, and Michael's reaction to Fredo, pretty well trying to be an apologist for Mo Green. That was the crack in the brotherly bond, because Mo Green was going to be on Michael's hit list, which he was, shot him through the eye, and but it's kind of weird how it all worked out, because Fredo couldn't really control himself, like keeping your thoughts to yourself. Fredo had a problem. He talked out loud, and he said basically, "Oh, Johnny Ola, he knows all the places in Havana," and so you got the sex show going on. Why in the hell would he be going to a sex show rather than, maybe a bar or something like that? From a sense, it makes no sense, because Fredo was sloppy, and Michael made a decision there. He's going to ruin me down the road. He was almost ruined by his brother-in-law, because he kind of coordinated the hit on Sonny. So it is what it is. So the John Cazale performance as Fredo is probably one of the most important characters or supporting characters in fictional mafia history, because when you think of Godfather 2, you don't just think of Pacino, you think of Cazale. Because if a brother is the more popular one, and the younger brother feels jealous, obviously they're not in the mafia, they're not going to kill anybody. But in this case, Fredo was doing something for himself, and it worked against him. It got him killed. And the Talia Shire character becomes more criminal as years go on. So she was a conscience that was left of the Talia Shire character. Because remember, at the first of the episode, part 2, she was begging for money for Michael. She wasn't taking care of her kids. But when Fredo died, she went completely over the edge. She became like her father and her brother, devoted to crime, or the family aspect of crime. So John Cazale has missed the years that he spent in all these big movies: The Conversation, Dog Day Afternoon, Deer Hunter, Close Paramour, Beryl Streep. If he would have lived, ladies and gentlemen, what a legacy he would have. But he left it all on the screen. And John Cazale, to me, is a top 5 character actor of all time, because everything goes on the screen. Only one person could play Fredo. It was John Cazale. And he will live forever because of it. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you like what we're doing here at our Father's Day podcast, that's why we did it. Sometimes fathers can be rough. Let us know what a like, comment, subscribe, or share. If you're a fan of The Godfather, tell me your theory about Fredo, why he cracked. I have my basic theory. He was weak and couldn't deal with being strong for himself. He was still weak. He gained strength but lost it because he chose the wrong side. Anyway, thanks for listening. Give us a like, comment, subscribe, or share.